Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Barber, author, former IT director for a Fortune 500 company, turned executive coach, and this is the Visibility Factor podcast, where we explore how to raise your visibility and play bigger at work and in life. We'll explore key topics and welcome guests that help you shift your thinking about yourself so you can see new possibilities for your leadership. I'm on a mission to create a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Are you ready to take the next step towards a higher level of visibility for yourself? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. Have you ever left a meeting thinking, how come nobody seemed to get the idea that I just shared? How come nobody understood what I was talking about? Or maybe someone else said the same thing you said in a slightly different way, and then everyone thought it was brilliant. Definitely has happened to me. I've watched it happen to other people. But what you need to understand is sometimes it isn't the quality of the ideas that holds us back. It's how you're presenting it. It's how you're helping people see that idea and be able to connect the dots to recognize its brilliance. It's how you present them. Many capable leaders unknowingly use language that minimizes their expertise, might soften their message, or gives other people permission to overlook what they're saying. These are habits from many years ago, from some kind of situation that happened to you that caused you to believe something that wants you to play smaller and not recognize your value. It's not always a lack of confidence, but that language creates that perception with other people. And perception influences credibility, trust, and opportunities. They go hand in hand. So I want to talk about ways minimizing language quietly works against your leadership and what you can do instead. So the first thing I want to talk about is your language teaches people how much weight to give your ideas. You are creating a narrative about yourself every single day with everything that you say. Now, I'm not saying that to put pressure on you to be perfect in how to say everything in just the right way, but it's about being intentional and being strategic with what you do share, because people take their cues from how confidently you communicate. When you soften a statement or minimize or devalue yourself, you're unintentionally telling other people that your idea might not matter, that you don't trust yourself, that you're not confident. Leadership isn't about being certain all the time, but it is about communicating with clarity. Your words establish your executive presence before anyone evaluates your ideas. People will make a snap judgment about you in about 2 seconds. So being very mindful and intentional with what you do say helps you get over that moment of, are they creating a perception about me that may not be reality? So here's some minimizing phrases that might be something you use without even thinking about it. This might be a stupid idea, but I'm probably wrong. Just a thought. I don't know if this makes sense. Maybe, sort of, kind of. I could be wrong, but how many times have we done that? We're basically minimizing our message or idea before we even share it with people. That is someone who is feeling that they are not confident, that they're worried that people might judge them. Instead, what if you say something like some of these ideas? One opportunity I see is, my recommendation is, based on what we've discussed, here's what I'm noticing. Can you see the difference? I'm making it much more objective, but still sharing my opinion, my ideas, my recommendation. I'm not automatically minimizing the language to begin with. Because confidence isn't speaking louder. It's removing those unnecessary words that might dismiss or devalue what you're about to share. The next thing I want to talk about is stop giving away the value of your contributions. Many leaders unintentionally diminish the importance of their work by the language they choose. Sometimes we do it because we're being humble. Instead, we're making it harder for other people to recognize our value. And I had many examples of this and had no idea I was doing it. And now when I hear clients do it, it's an immediate moment for me to slow them down and recognize that they're using language that's doing that to them, that they also have no idea is happening. So here's some examples of what this might look like. Instead of saying, I just helped with this project, say, I led this cross-functional effort. Instead of saying, I was just lucky, say, our preparation positioned us for this success. Instead of saying, oh, it wasn't a big deal. That was one of my favorites. It wasn't a big deal. Instead say, I'm glad I could help move the project forward. Instead of saying, I only did this, which is minimizing what you're doing, say, I led this effort. I did this. I brought the team together. I collaborated with people. Use something stronger that helps people see that you had a role in influencing what happened. Words like just, only, merely, simply are built to shrink accomplishments, not expand them. And if you minimize your impact all the time, then other people will minimize it too. It doesn't mean you exaggerate things, but it means you accurately represent what your contribution was. Humility and confidence can exist together. You don't need to make yourself smaller to make other people comfortable. Please don't do that. And I've said this before on the podcast, but I think in this section, it bears repeating. If you don't value yourself, others will not value you either. And so it's really important that you start to recognize that you have a lot of value to offer, and sharing that with others is a good thing. The next one is everyday language shapes your leadership reputation. Influence isn't built during annual presentations. It's built in hundreds of small conversations that you're having because you're forming an impression in each one of those. Remember, you're creating the narrative about yourself. So leverage the things that you have to offer, the meetings that you're in, the emails that you're sending, the one-on-one conversations, the hallway conversations if you're in an office. Every interaction is contributing to your leadership brand and the perception that you have. Pay attention to where you may be using phrases like, I'll try, I guess, whatever you think. It doesn't matter. Instead, use language that's stronger. I'll make that happen. My preference is, I recommend. Here's what I believe will have the biggest impact. These are opportunities for you to demonstrate strategic thinking, your influence, and how you can make a value and impact statement really stand out in a room. Because your goal isn't to become rigid or difficult. It's about being intentional. So your language has to reflect ownership, expertise, accountability, confidence, clarity, because people trust leaders whose words match their thinking. So you might think one way, but if your language isn't demonstrating that, that is a disconnect for people. They might have seen you talk really well in one meeting, but then you haven't done it since. You have to be consistent and intentional in all conversations that you're having. If you take only one thing away from this conversation, let it be this. Your words are constantly shaping how people experience your leadership. Every apology, every just, every maybe, every time you minimize your own contribution, you're sending signals that do not reflect your actual capability. It's almost like you're using these words to hide yourself. And it's doing a good job because then other people will not see you the way that you want to be seen. So here's a challenge. Pay attention to your own language. Notice how often you're saying just, only, maybe, I guess, sorry, even when an apology isn't necessary, kind of, or sort of. Sometimes I'll have people listen to themselves, pay attention to what the words are that they're using, record themselves in meetings, watch meetings that have been recorded, and capture where they're using words like this, where they're devaluing and diminishing their work. You don't have to become someone that you're not. We're not asking you to change everything. You don't have to become the most polished person in the room. You just need to be accurately reflecting the value that you bring. Because visibility isn't about talking more. It's about making sure your words reinforce your credibility instead of quietly diminishing it. When your language becomes more intentional, your leadership becomes more visible. And that's where greater influence begins. Take the opportunity to listen to yourself, record yourself, leverage those moments where you're speaking without necessarily paying attention to all the things that you're saying with intention, and find ways to shift those words, shift your language, and watch how people start to treat you differently. If you know someone who would benefit from listening to this episode, I would love it if you would share it with them. Everybody can learn how to really be more intentional with their language and be more strategic to get the recognition that they deserve and the visibility that they want. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Visibility Factor podcast. Remember that visibility starts with small steps that are intentional and consistent each day. Be bold, be visible, be the leader you were meant to be. Find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are highlighted in the show notes.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Visibility Factor podcast.